And Larry McGinn joins us now, plant manager here in Plattsburgh. Welcome.
Thanks for inviting me, Tom.
Nice to have you. Your company designs and manufactures rubber tracks and off-road tires for all kinds of equipment, but here in Plattsburgh, it's really specifically tracks for snowmobiles and ATVs, and mostly snowmobiles.
Yeah, that's true. So here in Plattsburgh, our focus is on snowmobile tracks, ATV tracks for the most part. But one of the things that most people don't know is that we're part of a much larger organization where we're manufacturing tracks for all sorts of off-road applications. We have an agricultural business unit, a material handling business unit, and a construction business unit. And so worldwide, we have over 7,000 employees.
And that's where you're seeing probably the most growth in those type markets.
We're seeing a lot of growth in those areas, organic as well as through acquisition as well.
But here it's snowmobile tracks, and you guys are really the leaders when it comes to making snowmobile tracks.
That's for sure. There's about 150,000 snowmobiles registered every year. You'd be hard pressed to find a snowmobile on a showroom floor that doesn't have a Camoplast track on it.
All the major manufacturers, Skidoo, Arctic Cat, Yamaha, Polaris, the big manufacturers who are still in business and leading the way today. You're their top supplier.
That's correct, yes.
And you work closely with them, with all those companies, as far as research and design and building their tracks?
Yeah, our design and development team is really an extension of their design and development teams. You know, all of our development engineers, they're enthusiasts. They own snowmobiles, they're on company snowmobiles, they're out there on the track or on the trail or in the mountains. They'll go from time to time throughout the year and work with the test riders from our customer standpoint, just to make sure that we're meeting all their needs.
So your company, you say that you do about 90% of the business with them, that you supply about 90% of their needs for tracks.
Sure. So worldwide, our market share in the snowmobile industry is about 85% worldwide. Here in North America, it's much higher than that.
How many tracks do you build a year out of the plant here in Plattsburgh?
So of the 150,000 tracks that are registered, we're producing just about every one.
Are you really? Yes. So the factory is going 3 shifts constantly?
24/7. We're a very, very capital intensive business, and so equipment utilization is really important to our business model. And so yes, we're running 24/7 around all year round.
How many employees do you have here in Plattsburgh?
We have over 150 employees here supporting that operation. And since we're an operational entity here in Plattsburgh, with our R&D center up in McGinn, Quebec, where our corporate headquarters resides, most of those individuals are shop floor and operational individuals.
And now you mentioned your company is headquartered just across the border in Quebec. So when it came time to expand, was Plattsburgh a very easy place to choose because of its proximity to Quebec?
Yeah, sure. The proximity was certainly important. Also important, equally important perhaps, is that Plattsburgh has a pretty good workforce to select from, and also the climate lends itself to snowmobiling, so it creates enthusiasts. So that helps out quite a bit. The other thing that's important to mention is that Clinton County and the organizations in Clinton County, whether it be the Chamber of Commerce or the Development Corporation, Clinton Community College, SUNY, they've all have programs that support manufacturing. That is really important for us. And actually, to tell you the truth, I'm quite impressed with how much support and how much encouragement we receive. It's really nice to have this many organizations rooting for our success.
The TDC and certainly other organizations here, Clinton Community College you mentioned, certainly the focus now is on manufacturing. The Advanced Manufacturing Institute is planned for Clinton Community College, and I think for a number of years now they've recognized the role that they need to take in building the workforce for manufacturers like you. Do you have a hard time finding qualified workers, and is this something that you've really been working with them to try to come up with a bigger pool of qualified workers?
So we are working with them and on a pretty regular basis, and from time to time it is difficult, and mainly it's mainly due to what's going on outside of Camoplast and what other companies are doing. And from time to time, you'll see a lot of companies, other companies doing some serious hiring, and that does have a short-term impact. But overall, the pool of applicants is pretty high and steady.
What special skills or qualities do your employees have and need for their jobs here? This is a very precision type work.
Sure. As in any manufacturing facility, attention to detail is probably the most critical attribute. The other thing is willingness to be continually learning. Every year it seems that our product life cycle is continuing getting compressed, and as we try to introduce new innovative products, the need to constantly be up to speed with new practices and procedures, new equipment, et cetera, that's pretty important for our employees to be on top of.
In the old day, old day, I'm probably dating myself here, but say in the 60s, 70s, especially in the 70s, were snowmobile tracks, were there just a few different varieties, and now do you have just a whole array of different types of tracks for different types of conditions?
So there are two things going on. One is that the stock of snowmobiles in the market continues to grow, and every year new models come out, and therefore we have new tracks that need to support those new models. And we don't let go of the customer at all. So we're producing tracks for snowmobiles that were manufactured 10, 20, 30 years ago. And so the customer never gets stranded without the ability to get it to purchase a track.
So a customer with an old Arctic Cat can come to you folks and find a track that can still work for that snowmobile.
For sure.
30 years later.
For sure. And in addition to that, the design cycle keeps accelerating to feed the enthusiasts. And so we have probably introducing more models than we ever have each and every year.
And is that ongoing, that you're constantly looking for new types of tracks that perform better in different types of conditions?
Yes, that's true. And a lot has to do with the weather, and many of the enthusiasts now have set off to the mountains, and that requires a completely different track, and one that has a very high profile compared to a trail sled. And then on the other side, we have individuals who are perhaps in this area who are sledding in conditions that may be a little more icy, and then we have tracks that have built-in studs. And so we're trying to get both ends of that market and everything in between. And so it creates for a very large number of SKUs that we have to produce.
And speaking of the market, what do you see for the next 3 to 5 years? Are snowmobile sales still growing year after year, or are you seeing growth in different parts of U.S., Canada, or worldwide in snowmobiling?
So post the 2008 recession, we're seeing some pretty decent growth, getting back to where we were, and maybe even a little better than that. We're coming off a pretty good year. 2014 was a good year for us.
And being recreation vehicles, you were hit hard by the recession.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
But we're quickly on the rebound.
And does that mean for the plant in Plattsburgh, do you look at the possibility of expanded production or additional hires, or if you're seeing that now, that rebound, what's that mean for the plant in Plattsburgh?
Sure. So a couple things. You know, we try our best to level load the facility across the entire year, and also we have done a fair amount of hiring over the last couple of years to support the volume growth, and the balance is to hire into that growth, but at the same time make sure that we're creating a stable workforce for our employees, rather than having a feast or famine type situation.
Which manufacturing, and certainly in Clinton County, can see that with contracts. Some of the other manufacturers can go for a contract and then see several months where there's a lot less work. Yeah.
That's true. Well, we do our best to avoid that situation.
Your facilities in Plattsburgh, are you maxed out, or do you have room to grow there?
We have a bit of room. We have a bit of room, and you know, the key to our success is to be able to grow our processes, grow our people, and be ready for new work. And whether that's organic in the snowmobile and ATV industry, or is that from some other business unit inside the corporation, either way, we want to be well positioned to accept that.
And we've talked about some of the other products your company makes. You really do make tracks now for all kinds of equipment, even wheelchairs, and for motorbikes that where a ski can be put on the front and a track on the back. So the company-wide, you're really expanding the market. But in Plattsburgh, again, it's still primarily snowmobiles.
So when you back up and look at our entire portfolio in Plattsburgh, it includes the snow bikes. It includes includes the tracks for all-terrain wheelchairs. There's some businesses out there that are creating track systems to put on utility vehicles like pickups, to be able to go off-road, not for recreation but for business purposes. Some areas in the far north, it's cheaper to buy a track system than it is to plow the roads just in case.
Mm-hmm. And so while you're manufacturing those, your bread and butter, so to speak, is still obviously the snowmobile tracks. That's the top seller.
That's for sure, yes.
You fell in love with snowmobiling. Did I read you would come up to Racket Lake on vacation?
Sure. So, my wife Lisa and I have spent a lot of time in the Adirondacks. We're big fans of the area. And so when the opportunity came to be the plant manager for the Plattsburgh facility here for Camoplast, that's something that was quite intriguing. It was actually my wife got us involved in snowmobiling a number of years back, and we started out with a single used sled, and after the first outing we were hooked.
No kidding.
Right, and so now being in this area, we're kind of slowly becoming enthusiasts to the sport, and for the most part you'll see us out, if there's snow on the ground, pretty much every weekend. We're out and about on one of our 3 sleds.
So you not only enjoy it, but obviously that gives you the perspective of knowing your product and knowing all about the industry, and if you're out there.
It helps a lot, yes.
Are you constantly feeling pressure? Are there always competitors out there looking to take you on, and not necessarily domestically? Are you always facing the possibility of overseas companies looking to try to do what you're doing and take your market share?
So there are several smaller competitors, and that risk is always there and keeps us on our toes. A couple of things that really help out. Number one, it's a very capital-intensive business. Requires a significant investment, and so some of the small players aren't able to meet the volumes of our OEM customers. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of the coin, that large number of SKUs to support the customers from 1970 to up to today, those are investments that we've made. They have been made. We don't necessarily have to make them again, and nobody's going to enter the market to produce a small number of tracks for the few customers who have a very old snowmobiles.
Mm-hmm. That probably creates logistical nightmares for you if you have to store all those tracks dating back to 1970 or the 60s.
Well, we produce them on a regular basis. Forecasting can be a little tricky, trying to figure out what's going on in the minds of people who own those types of sleds out there. But we do a pretty good job of making sure that they're available when the orders come in.
And this is the busy time of year for you folks, because people may not think of that. We're winding down from the winter, but this is when you would now be gearing up to start manufacturing the tracks, or you're already manufacturing the tracks looking ahead to the next season.
We start manufacturing the tracks for next season before the snow is off the ground this year, for sure. And we're supporting the assembly lines that operate throughout the summer and into the fall.
And obviously there's a close relationship with the manufacturers. Are you constantly going to their manufacturing facilities, their factories, and are they constantly here?
Most of the interaction is through the development teams, but from an operational standpoint, there doesn't need to be a whole lot of interaction, especially with the advent of email and computers and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So, and back to you just for a second. So you mentioned, is this a dream job for you? You really love snowmobiling, and now to be able to work in this industry?
Sure. So I've been with Camoplast and in Plattsburgh for 2 years, and the decision to do that's been really a good one for myself and the rest of my family. So from that standpoint, it's been very, very positive. I don't think I'm here because I'm a snowmobile enthusiast, but it was one of those hooks that got me intrigued to really investigate quite diligently when the opportunity presented itself.
So Larry McGinn, thanks a lot for taking the time to come and be with us. We appreciate it.
Tom, it was a real pleasure. Thanks again for inviting me.